Alright, so this is my Glottkin Knight Titan. I spent the last year and a half to 2 years kit bashing it, I think. The reason I'm making this video is because I chucked a reel up on Instagram and a lot of people asked if I had any tutorials. Seemed to be pretty popular relative to what I would usually get, so I thought I'd make a video talking about the bits I used, or I don't know, just going over whatever. I'm just going to waffle and see what happens. So yeah, basically the only parts from the Glottkin kit that you don't use are the feet, the face, except for the bottom jaw, which is this bit here, the 3 units on top, and the left arm. And the rest of the things, I think, yeah. Once you've made the main body, there's a void in behind all of this stuff. The way that I navigated that was applying this hood, which is from the Norn Assimilator kit. It's the bit that goes over the Norn Assimilator's head. And then I applied these two pits on the side to try and provide a bit of extra structure around the outside, so that once I got in, I could use some sprue to put in, hold it forward, and glue it, so that I could have some degree of support or something there once I put, for when I put green stuff in there, to basically make a foundation for when I applied this. These two bits, I do not know where they are from. For the longest time I've thought they were from like the Terrorgeist or Zombie Dragon kit, but I don't think the Zombie Dragon kit has these metallic-y sort of bits on it. So this bit and these bits are on the same piece. So in here, once I established the foundation, I used some green stuff to push this piece into, to create a mold for when I glued it. So that once the green stuff cured, I had a firm place for me to mount this, and I had the orientation that I wanted. This face is from the Lord Discordant kit, the Hellstalker face. The mount is where I got this from. All these sort of bulbousy bits underneath, this is all green stuff to about here. Let me see if I can... Yeah, so these bits here are part of the Glottkin kit. You can probably tell from the difference in textures. This is green stuff that I sculpted, or this here is green stuff that I sculpted, but from there around here is all plastic kit. And the same on this side. This is green stuff up to about here, and then that's the Glottkin kit. That's basically where kind of the size of the void that I had to try and find a way to get past in order to have this face there with a structure and have it stable and everything. These two bits here from Plague drone kits. I believe they're pieces that go over the head off of the back carapace of the thorax, and then rather than I don't know if I've said this already, but rather than having the typical Glottkin weapon, I took the maw and put it here, and took the tongue out and used it in here. Basically, just really gave it a good shove up there with some green stuff to sort of make it work, give it a I don't know, just get it to work. And instead I used these bits from an old Dwarf organ cannon kit. I think I don't remember, it's like old. I'm pretty sure I got these got the organ cannon from a friend who was basically just selling secondhand Warhammer stuff that I didn't want anymore. Got like a 70-litre tub of old Warhammer for like $20. So I think even there's sort of that dwarven, you can kind of see that sort of, there's like a tiny little bit there that's like a dwarven letter or a number or something like that. But basically cut them down in between to make them into individual pipes, and then using a flat surface I sort of stood them upright and used these parts. These parts are from a Telos paint engine. They're the four van braces from the I think it's like they're like scythe looking bits. Glued them onto these, and then on a flat surface maneuvered them together so that they would make the triangular shape that I wanted. So that's like a pretty accurate triangular shape. And then I glued where these bits were touching, and then filled in the voids with green stuff to sort of add extra structure and solidify the joints. And then putting it in was pretty basic. Where the maw goes in, the width of the maw is kind of the right width for this to just sit in an area, so you can glue it, and then you have areas where you can use green stuff to fill it in. So in there would have been a bit of a void, same as there, and down below as well. Oh, get my hand out of the way. Down there as well. And then basically just tried to make it look as if it's like, much like the feet, it's just trying to grab this foreign machinery and hold it in as part of the amalgamated mutation. This part is from a Foetid Bloat drone, which anyone who has a Foetid Bloat drone would recognize it. This piece as well is from the Foetid Bloat drones, and you can see here, if I can get the shininess to go away, I used this bit for the shoulder, and then these bits here are one of these bits, whichever one I used is this bit. So what I did for these, I think I cut off these little stacks. I cut off these little stacks that didn't look like I was able to use them well. So up in here there was one, and over here there were two. So I cut them out, and then basically used the design of the model to try and cut these little notches to add those details, so it's like without doing too much damage to the initial sculpting. Tried to exaggerate some of the details as well as not take away from the piece. Once you apply this to the arm, there's a very big void around here, so you'd need to use green stuff. This here is green stuff, this here is green stuff, that there is green stuff. This here, these three bulbousy bits are the kit. This little bit here is green stuff that goes onto a guitar string. So the guitar string, I think, might be like the A string or something. And then typically there are spikes here, which I used on the legs here. So on this knee there's usually nothing there but a knee, and up under here, if you don't apply that, there'll be a void which this covers, and so I put this on this knee because I wanted to have some kind of detail there, to be interesting. Much the same here. This bit here is a bit from a Knight Titan where to either the left or the right of the head there's like a little machine gun that will come out. The machine gun would typically come out through there. Yeah, that's what this piece is from. This spike here is green stuff. Often when I have excess green stuff from sculpting stuff and I don't know what to do with it, I'll just make it into a spike so that I might be able to use it at another time. When I was doing the legs, when I was putting these in, there were some parts where I had to shave away parts of the legs. For example, over here. Down here you can kind of see how it sort of embeds in the skull there. I deliberately did that to get the orientation I wanted on the armor piece, and then I used green stuff on here to fill this pit in to make it sort of look more like it's again part of the body, part of the amalgamation. And then these bits here are like little suspension-y bits from the Khorne Blood Throne kit, and I just cut them off there and put them in there because it's like I needed something there. It's sort of like it seemed empty without putting something there. Didn't seem like enough, and just filling in these little voids didn't seem like enough. The turret torso. This bit is a Titanicus. I think it's Titanicus Knight Porphyrion torso. I don't know much about Titanicus or whatever it is. I would most likely refer to it as like Epic 40k, like back in the day. It's like much smaller sized units. So I made the torso and then made an eyeball over the face here using green stuff. These weapons are from the Foetid Bloat drone kits as well. This is a Chaos Flare launcher bit from any of the tank kits that you get. Yeah, what am I doing? Camera. Okay. This is all green stuff. On here, this here is plastic. This here is plastic, and then down through here is green stuff, and down through here is green stuff. And I had to sculpt it using this tool. I used this to get that sort of width in the detailing, and then use it to sort of flatten it out to try and get that joint look. Whoops. Hopefully my quote-unquote camera work was enough to show that. So yeah, these bits here. What's my camera doing? Oops. Okay, these bits. This pipe and this pipe are from Helbrute kit. I think they're essentially, are they the same? No, they're not. They are from the Helbrute kit. These spikes here, I'm pretty sure are from kits, but I don't know exactly where from. Yeah, I'm kind of lost on that. Trying to think what else I have or haven't talked about. On the back here, this is green stuff using stuff from the pipe molding bits tools from Green Stuff World. Same with this piece and I believe that piece. Yes, this line here is guitar string. This is another guitar string. Move my center. And then this pipe here is from the Necron Lohkust Heavy Destroyer kit. It is. What am I doing? Why is it washed out? This bad boy here, which joins back to the gun. And so it's a pretty obscure little piece. This piece here is from the Necron Command Barge kit. So at the back you have your Necron Lord, and then in front of him you have the two pilots. And the seat that the pilots are sitting on, it's kind of like a spine support, either from this spot here or from this spot. There's kind of like a wishbone that you chop off, and then you eventually basically chop the excess bits off until it looks like this, and then stick it on so it looks like it's part of the engine, going from say you have the tank full of your diarrhea and your junk comes through to be processed and then pumped into these cannons. This bit here is from the pelvis, the back of the pelvis part of a Knight Titan kit. I think I cut this bit off a piece that I used on another kitbash. And then down here beneath it, I used green stuff to fill in underneath it. Pretty sure the initial securing was just glued on the inside and put in so it was flat and there was almost nothing underneath, until I added the green stuff afterwards. This piece here is from a Necron Ravager kit, and it is, let's see how I go with this. Where am I going? There, that bit. I have no idea if it's even clear. If I unlock. Okay. Not locking the focus and everything. So it's this bit, basically with that. Just without this bit. That little piece goes all the way in there. In here. And then much the same as this side, I glued it in flat. Well, the joint was made to this propeller, which was from the Foetid Bloat drone kits. And then inside there and underneath, filled it with green stuff. And then molded around here to make it look like it's like the skin has sort of started to grow over the machinery. This here is a engine from Contemptor Dreadnought. I think I've got this because another kitbash I used a paint bottle lid, turned it upside down, filled it with junk, and made it like a toxin tank to connect to an arm to shoot. And then for the longest time I thought these exhaust pieces were from the Venom Crawler, but about 3 hours ago, as I was looking through instructions and everything to find pieces, this is also the instruction. These are also exhaust from the Lord Discordant on Hellstalker kit, which I was kind of surprised because I was convinced it was from the Venom Crawler. Then this wiring here and this piece here are from a Leviathan Dreadnought. I'm pretty sure it's a Leviathan Dreadnought. Going from the shoulder piece forward to it's like a power arm, power claw part, I think. I think those are the ones that I had. These pipes here are all guitar strings as well. There's a piece just here. I have no idea what this piece is from. I don't know what kit. I don't know how long I've had it. I've only got one, and I've absolutely no idea what it's from. So yeah, good luck finding that one if you're gonna use one of those. These bits here are from a Forge Fiend kit. These connect to some ball joints which allow you to mount the plasma cannon or Gatling cannons onto the sides. Typically here there'll be two voids where two horns go, but instead of putting the horns in here, I used those two horns here and here. But to fill these holes, these are spore pieces from, I keep wanting to call it a mycetic spore, but it's definitely not a mycetic spore. It's like the big drop pod Tyranid cell thing with like the mad carapace on it and the squiggly bits. Anyone who's got a Knight Titan will know what this is. It's the cannon would typically go along here, and this is at the back with the arm going up here. It's a bit from there. This tank is from a Lord of Skulls kit, but I did not have this piece here because I think I used it on something else. So what I did to fill this part in was I got a shield generator from a Riptide Battlesuit, a Tower Riptide Battlesuit. Stuck it on, filled the gaps with green stuff, and then around here, this here is also sculpted from green stuff. These little studs, I think like a year ago, or maybe a year and a half, I asked people on Instagram what they use to make studs, and these are like little polyurethane tubes. I've been using that to make little studs. So if anyone is watching this that gave me that advice, thank you very much. This piece here is the bottom jaw of the Glottkin face. Around here, had to fill in some bits. Down here, I think, is a pretty big void that I had to fill in. So this is all green stuff. I think when you apply the kit's left arm, it'll be plastic to about here and then down. So there's a pretty big void there that I had to fill in. Trying to think what else, if I've missed anything. This piece here is from the Master of Possession. It is the staff top. So you got this guy, and it is this bit here from, I know this is a starting kit, but got it a while ago. I figured, I think what I did, I think on the Master of Possession that I used, I didn't use this, I put something else on, perhaps like a scythe or something, hence why I haven't had this available for this. The belly plate, the way that I started out was with the Warmaster Titan kit. You get 6 of these, 3 pairs of these. The 2 that had no iconography I used on another kitbash, as well as probably the other one, the opposite one of this. And then here's the other 2, so that's all 6 accounted for. I used my pliers to cut this excess off and either sanded back or filed back whatever was left so it was flat, filled in whatever I needed to fill in if I needed to. I probably didn't need to fill it in because I've got all of this stuff covering it, but down the middle you've got, when I made it, I used 2 of them, glued down these edges, joined them together like that, and then behind the back I've got a whole bunch of business cards that I cut into a strip about the same width as what's around here and made it go down around so that it provided a bit of extra structure and support for the glue join. Then in the middle, I filled the middle with green stuff so that I could use that green stuff to drill through and pin it. When mounting it, I used a ball of green stuff to just pretty much put here in the plate, so then I pushed it up against the belly and then it had a bit of give so I could get the orientation that I wanted. And then once it cured, I was able to just put it on, glue it, pin it, and it was in the position that I wanted. These bits here are like 2 hatches of 1 tank hatch. The Chaos ones that sort of interlock, like, you know what I mean? Hopefully without me sticking my finger up at everyone. This piece here is a turret hatch, as well as this piece here. Beneath those, I think I used some green stuff or something to sort of have them lift away from the initial plate, so to make them more pronounced, more prominent. And then whatever void was left, I filled with green stuff and then added this extra detailing and stuff. But yeah, this bit is the maw from the right hand. There's nothing really inside of it. It didn't really occur to me that it looks like he's kind of got half chub from this angle until somebody kind of mentioned it a couple of months ago. So it was kind of awkward once I realised that. This is one of the faces from the Lord of Skulls kit, and this wagon wheel. The wagon wheel, we have this Khorne banner. Basically cut all of this off, cut all of this off. On one of them I kept this line across here, and then on the second piece I cut it so that it was the edge of that. So once I join them together, they have the risen bit of the middle, and it's a full wagon wheel. And then this piece in the middle is from a Slaaneshi icon, this little guy. So I just cut all this off, sculpted a little point at the top, sculpted a little point out of this little bit. So then you have that little guy. So if you want a little skull icon, these little guys up. Don't know if it's been said, but I don't know where I got this spike from, where I got this horn from. I I've had it for ages, and I think I have another one, but I have no idea where I got it from. This detailing here is just sculpted to make it look like the horns have protruded through the armor. These details are used with, if I have them, these little tools with the balls on the tips. I've got various sizes to do those details. And down with the feet. I can't remember if I talked about the feet. But if I haven't, the possibility that I haven't, you essentially have the feet, and what you do, or what I did, is say with your standard Knight Titan, you have your feet, and then you have this plate that sits on top of the feet, and in between the leg, these little pistons and the foot. I stuck this little plate bit on, and then when I was positioning the kit, I wanted to have a relatively accurate, or at least plausible, anatomy to its positioning. So I wanted to go from hip to knee to toe being one straight line, and on this side being hip to knee to toe being one straight line, so that it looked as though it was anatomically accurate or sufficient. But once I got the orientation that I wanted with the feet, I was able to place the kit on top of the plate that usually goes between the leg and the foot of your normal Knight kit. The way that I secured them is probably pretty dodgy, because I glued it and then essentially just stuffed green stuff around the joins. The interesting thing about when you sort of place the kit onto the feet is those little bits have little round pits, and it's almost like there's some parts of the feet that sort of just naturally sit in those. So I used those bits to sit in there, glued them, got to let it sit so it was firm in its own connection, and then basically just tried to stuff green stuff around everywhere to add support to those joins. And so on the parts, like say here, and here, they sort of bulge out because they go around and under those bits of the feet where the pistons typically go into. And then I wanted to make it look as if the feet were a foreign machinery that were scavenged and added to the amalgamation. So it looks like the mutation is attempting to hold on to and keep the feet rather than trying to mutate new feet. So yeah, I think that is everything. Mostly the way that I paint is I'll go with your Deathworld Forest. I don't know if it's still called Deathworld Forest. Yep, Deathworld Forest. And then I'll sort of do a mixture of Deathworld Forest and, where is it? Your Shabty Bone. I know it's somewhere. The Shabty Bone over here. Pretty sure it's a Shabty Bone. Yes, Shabty Bone. Did I say a Shabty Bone? And then, surprisingly, Nuln oil kind of makes things better. I think either this kitbash, or one of my other ones was the first time I used it. It's like, makes colors a bit richer, adds a bit of contrast. So it was surprisingly good. So the memes are kind of haha, but I mean, still, null is still pretty legit. And then I'll go over, because it will darken it down a little bit, I'll go over it again a little bit with the Ushabti bone, and then I'll use a green wash to just go over it lightly to give it a bit more of a green hue after it's sort of gone to a pastel-y sort of green. That green wash will sort of bring it back into a bit of a richer green. So say, I don't know if the camera, let me see if the camera will pick it up if I get it to focus properly. Down the tip here, it goes like your typical rusty silver to here. It's a little bit, got a bit of a green tint, and that's from using the green wash. So use that to put it on. Base of this, I'll go with Baylor Brown. Try and dry brush it on, and then go over it with straight Ushabti bone, and then try and do highlights with some white scar, or maybe Praxeti white. But these fleshy bits I'll either get Khorne red or red sun scarlet, and I'll wipe as much of it off as I can, and then go through it so that it looks like it's infected sort of angry skin. You can kind of see the tint there. Over here, over this is a bit of a tint with a bit more wet red on it. Say, let's see if this sort of reddening around here is mostly that red sun scarlet sort of dry brush pigment smudging, and then went over it with blood for the blood god to give it that rich, nasty lookingness. And I think I might have gone over it a little bit with Ard Coat. The gold, typically I try and dry brush as much as I can, but I found that dry brushing stuff it's a bit more messy than I want to be, so I've been doing a base coat of bronze, Balthasar gold, do a base of Balthasar gold, then it'll be like solid Balthasar gold. I'll only go over it with one layer, so it's sort of thin, it's not like a solid brass or solid bronze look. There'll still be it'll be a little bit darker and not as solid. Then I'll go with Auric Armor Gold, which I'll go over with one layer as well, so it sort of goes over thin, so you kind of get this in between sort of burnished sort of gold. And then I'll lightly go over with Chainmail Silver, I believe it is. Rune Fang Steel, and I'll dry brush that very carefully, and that will sort of adds an element to it, which just, I know it's hard to explain. Yeah, it just adds this different element to the color, rather than looking like brassy or coppery or bronzy. That silver will add a bit of a extra gleam that makes it kind of look like refined gold. These are, I try to dry brush pretty much the lot, or at least most of these horns, with Mournfang Brown, and then I'll go up to Shabti Bone. My brain's forgetting words, and then I'll blend it up to White Scar. But with this, I tried not to do as much White Scar, so you've still got that slow blend. It still looks quite bony without doing too much, which I think I've done in the past. The loincloth, I just did very lazily, dry brushed it much the same as I do these. The horns and the spikes, but went over these 3 circles with the green wash to provide that sort of Nurgle green. This effect here is Typhus Corrosion. I just put it on layer upon layer upon layer. So it looks like mud. The rust. Start with bolt gun metal. I don't know if it's still called bolt gun metal. I don't have a thingy over there. Over here. Here we go. Lead Belcher. Do Lead Belcher first, then do Rise of Rust, and then I'll use Runefang Steel to go over the top. Dry brush over the top very gently. So yeah. These little hoops here are like 0.6 or 0.7 millimeter galvanized wire that I just turned into loops. This chain is like some cheap thing that I got off eBay like years and years ago. Anything that I've pinned, I've used probably like 1.1 or 1.2 millimeter galvanized wire. No specific reason about why I use the galvanized wire, but it's just a good pin, I guess. I think that's everything. Hopefully this has been informative. Hopefully this I guess inspires you to make your own if you're interested. Might give you a bit of insight into how to go about some things. My phone, I swear to God. Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. I've got my list of kits that I used here for it, and I'll chuck this list in the description. And yeah, hopefully I was clearer than mud. Happy bashing.